Welcome to Muskegon Rising, a community service project of the Muskegon Rotary Club. Our purpose is to create lasting positive change. We've been doing that here since 1916. So, let's get started.
Hello, I'm your host, Aaron Mikey, and welcome to Muskegon Rising. Today, I'm with Rob Taylor with the Muskegon County Bicycling Coalition. Welcome, Rob.
Thanks, Aaron. Thanks for having me and giving me the chance to talk about the coalition.
I love it. I'm a cyclist, and I've just been really looking forward to having this conversation. I don't know a lot about the Muskegon County Bicycle Coalition, and I'm really excited to hear about it and have our listeners here as well. So let's start off. Just tell our listeners about what the MCBC is all about.
Yeah, we like to call it MCBC because Muskegon County Bicycling Coalition. You see, it's a mouthful. And so back in 2020, a bunch of us cyclists finally decided, well, it's time to form a coalition as an advocacy group for bicycling in Muskegon County. We're all riders. Avid riders. We'd been doing group rides for a number of years, and we finally felt like we had enough critical mass in the way of following, so to speak, that we could start something and start to advocate for bicycling in a much bigger way. Unfortunately, COVID hit us in 2020, but it actually was a little bit fortuitous for us because when you're trying to start an organization, a nonprofit, there's a lot of things to do and figure out and talk about, and we just met outside like everybody else and through the summer and figured it out and got things started. So the real idea of the coalition was there's cycling such a great form of transportation and it's also recreation, and it's good for exercise. But there's a need for better bicycling infrastructure. There's a need for people that can't afford the fancy bikes, so to speak. And we thought we could address some of that. So we formed the group and started to advocate with the local municipalities, really trying to look at what's lacking in our bicycle infrastructure. When I say infrastructure, that means bike paths, on-street separated bike lanes, signage, markings, all those things that make bicycling with traffic, with the vehicle traffic that we have, safer and allows people to feel more comfortable getting out on their bikes and riding wherever they need to go, whether it's for recreation or they need a bicycle to get to work because they don't have a car or their car's broke down, bicycling to school, to the grocery store. There's all those means that you can use the bicycle for. And we all are pretty steeped in what bicycling looks like in other parts of the world, especially Europe, where they're light years. They're like 50 years ahead of the U.S. And there's so many bicyclists, especially in Amsterdam and Denmark, but all throughout Europe and the rest of the European countries. They've just followed suit. You hear something almost all the time about they're shutting off parts of cities so that it'd be safer for bicycling, and they're putting in infrastructure like I've talked about, like in France and Paris and such. So that's kind of been our guide to going after this, and here we are today with a lot more going on.
That's awesome. I imagine Michigan is challenging, being the automotive capital of the world, to get drivers and cyclists to sometimes get along. But the work you're doing is taking shape here in Muskegon County.
Yeah, and it's an educational process for both for bicyclists and motorists. Bicyclists need to understand how to ride safely, how to respect the motorists, how to interact with them. bicycles are by law in Michigan. They have every right to the road as an automobile, and automobile drivers need to respect that and need to understand that. Even law enforcement has been needed to be educated in some of those regards, so that everybody just gets along. And we've really felt, as having bicycled in this community for myself like 10 years now, in that time frame, and with more and more bicyclists on the roads, it just feels like we're accomplishing that goal of educating, the motoring public, and we feel like they're just that much more respectful of us.
Yeah, in our communities, you could speak towards this. They're making huge inroads to bike paths. I know just outside on Lake Harbor Drive here in Norton Shores, there's a huge infrastructure update that's going to connect Lake Harbor Park with PJ Hoffmaster to move some of that bike traffic off the shoulder of the road and provide some more safe avenues for our cyclists.
Yes, that's one example of the kind of improvement in infrastructure that is happening on a much bigger scale, I'll say. What we've done as a coalition is promoted the idea of having a master plan for bicycle infrastructure across the entire county and even in the northern Ottawa County. And we've succeeded in securing funds to hire a consultant, and we've partnered with WMSRDC, the West Michigan Regional Shoreline Development Corporation, as the fiduciary, and just recently received proposals from 3 different consultants that will be choosing one of those 3 to then study the entire county in North Ottawa County and develop a plan, and with renderings and with a lot of community input, a lot of citizen input. So they'll hold various kinds of events to get that input across the community, because there's no point in building something that nobody wants or nobody's going to use. And so we need to understand, and they need to understand what our community wants and needs. And then they'll produce a report, a plan, and it'll include renderings of different places around the county that'll show what's possible. And from that, then we'll need to pursue more money, of course, to do construction, and there'll be a priority to the entire plan, and over time, and it'll take years, really. We'll make Muskegon a place that people really want to come. I mean, they already like to come here because it's such a great place here on the lakeshore. But we want to make that even more desirable with our bicycling infrastructure, and accomplish our goal of making it easy and comfortable for anybody to ride in this community.
That's amazing. And is that part of your Greenways Trail collaboration, or is this a larger project than that?
No, that's our Greenways Trails collaboration.
So it's connecting our county through bike paths to all the cities and northern Ottawa County. That's really tremendous. So talk to us a little bit about what a bike library is.
Okay, so that was another thing we came up with. One day, there was a conversation going on with a couple of people from the library, Sarah Rinsema-Sabinga, and it was really first with her, and then with Ron Suchek, the new, fairly new now, director of the library. And the idea of well, if you can check out a book, you can check out a bike, and there's precedents for what's called the Library of Things. They were already loaning out laptops, Chromebooks, kind of thing, and we had the thought of loaning out bikes. We'd been given bikes away, but loaning out bikes would be a way to get bikes in the hands of people that needed them, whether on a temporary basis or a longer-term basis. And so we collaborated with them, and they have the systems for keeping track of things. They keep track of thousands of books. a few hundred bikes wouldn't be too hard to do. And we had an initial source of bikes from a gentleman named Ron Baker that has been repairing bikes and giving them away for a number of years. And he gave us a whole cadre of kids' bikes to start with. And we started to have once a month work sessions with volunteers. And we've had as many as 35 volunteers show up on a Saturday, and we just fix these bikes up. They may need, just a tube or a tire or brake work. If it gets too complicated and too expensive, because there's diminishing returns there, well, then we scrap the bike out and maybe salvage the parts and use them on other bikes. So we've probably given the library 150 bikes, and last year was the first year, and the demand was greater for adult bikes than kids' bikes, which kind of surprised us. And we had to scramble and come up with more adult bikes, and we could continue that. So that was, what year is this, 2024? That was 2023, and it was very successful. About 80% of them came back at the end of October when we asked for them back. We thought that was pretty good. Had no idea. I was going to be happy if it was 50%. And then, we've continued to supply them with bikes. Very recently, with the help of a Rotary grant, we were able to purchase 20 new bikes. We just took delivery on last Friday, and we have to put them together. And our idea there is to loan them out through the winter, because some of these people who are using them for their job and that kind of thing, they need a bike through the winter, and we chose some rather sturdy, easy to maintain bikes because they'll come back to us eventually and need some maintenance. So that program we hope to at least start it this winter.
That's really amazing. I would imagine that bikes and having them checked out from a library, a little bit different than checking out a book, but the maintenance, I love that. And, the one bad thing about cycling in Michigan is winter, because there's a whole lot of salt thrown and it loves to really rust up your bike. So I love that you thought that through and you bought the right bikes that are going to require maintenance, but not a significant amount. How many volunteers do you have as the MCBC? And what it just seems like you got a lot of people there that are doing some great work.
Well, we have several Facebook pages, but our main one is the MCBC Facebook page, and we have over 1,000 followers on that page since we started. And so we draw from those folks, and for our rides, we regularly get 30, 40, or our Monday night, we call it Roll on Muskegon, which is just a ride around the neighborhoods at a very slow speed. And we get 50 to 70 people. So from all those sources, we're able to attract volunteers when we need them. So if we, for example, the bridges that go across over by the old Cobb plant, some of the boards were popping up and some were rotted, and so we put out the word and attracted, again, over 30 volunteers for a work day, and we cooperated. The city cooperated with us and supplied the materials, and we replaced a whole bunch of bridge boards, screwed down other ones that were still good, and got her done. And
that's amazing.
It is amazing, and I'm constantly amazed at the cooperation in this community between organizations. So like with the library and with the city, one after another.
That's what makes it so special. We'll get into this question a little bit more, but what you're talking about, I see this with the bicycling community. I road bike a bit. I mountain bike a bit. It is just so generous with their time. The cyclists are. Trees fall down in storms on mountain biking trails, and you'll see a group be out the next day with chainsaws and hiking that trail to make sure that there's, clear passage through it almost immediately. You see that at Mosquito Creek and Owassapee. I mountain bike on sections of the North Country Trail that are open to mountain bikes, not the hiking area only. And they're so fast to respond. It's amazing, and it's all volunteers.
Yeah, and a lot of times, they're anonymous. You don't even know who did it. When we had that big windstorm this year, there were trees up and down the Berry Junction Trail that had gone down, and I grabbed a couple of volunteers, old guys like me, and we got out there and worked on some of it. But it was more than we could do. And sure enough, like you say, other trees along that trail that they were taken care of by who knows who. We never did find out.
It's really awesome. So talk to me a little bit. You talked about bikes and cars and how they interact. There's a law in Michigan called the Safe Passing Law. Talk about that. And then there are some nuances in each community, different requirements, but there is a minimum. So tell our listeners what that is all about.
Yeah, that's another thing we got into. So not everybody knows this. Again, educating the public is a part of our mission, and the state law is for a minimum distance of 3 feet between an automobile and a bicyclist when they're riding parallel on a road. And as cyclists, we desired more than that. 3 feet is like for my size. If I reach my arm out, that's 3 feet, and that's definitely feels too close. And consequently, a lot of people don't ride the roads because of that potential to be hit. So we went to the various municipalities in Muskegon County and said, well, that doesn't really seem to be enough. And how about a 5-foot rule? And we succeeded in getting local ordinances passed in almost every municipality, at least in the urban area of Muskegon, to make it a 5-foot rule. And in fact, now I'm not remembering, but I think it was the city of Muskegon already had a 5-foot rule. So, and another thing people don't know is most communities, and I couldn't tell you which ones around here, but have an ordinance against riding on sidewalks. So you're actually forced to ride in the street, and that helps support the idea. Well, then we need a 5-foot rule for a safe distance in passing.
Absolutely. Something a little bit newer in the bike space, or it's become really popular, is e-bikes. And I know at a Rotary meeting probably a year ago, you had some of your MCBC colleagues, friends, fellow riders talking about e-bikes. And he had a great perspective on what the view is on e-bikes. I'd love for you to share that and just what that's done for cycling.
Well, the view on e-bikes is pretty mixed, and depending on who you're talking to, and whether you're talking to a bicyclist or a motorist or a pedestrian. E-bikes, there's 3 classes of e-bikes. People don't generally know that. Class 1, they're limited to 18 miles an hour, 18 to 20 miles an hour by design, and you have to pedal to engage the motor to go that fast. Class 2, same limitation as far as speed, but you don't have to pedal. It's totally throttle assisted. And then Class 3, they'll go up to 28 miles an hour, but you have to pedal assist those as well. Most bike trails, like the Berry Junction Trail, only allow the Class 1. And it varies from trail to trail, from mountain bike trails to rails to trails. And again, this is opinion. My opinion is that, well, I welcome the e-bikes. It's gotten so many people out on bikes, particularly older people that for whatever reason can't or aren't willing to pedal full strength a regular bicycle. It's just got so many people on bikes now that I think it's great. It's getting people off the couch, outdoors, getting some exercise, and it's providing transportation. Again, that idea that people can't necessarily afford a car and need transportation, and an e-bike's one way to overcome that obstacle.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I just was up at my aunt and uncle's house, and she's got her she shed, and she popped the door open and proudly showed me their brand new e-bikes, and they ride from Hart to Montague on those, and just they wouldn't be outside at 72 years old riding a bicycle if they didn't have that. She said, I can make it about 20 miles, and this helps me get there, and it's, after a knee replacement, what a great opportunity for people to be able to get out and do that. And your point on work, it's so true. People use that as a method of transportation to get to and from work, and you lose, at least I lose sight of that, because 100% of my biking, or 99% of it, is recreational riding because I want to try to stay fit or be a little bit faster or whatever it may be. So tell us a little bit about some of the group rides that take place in Muskegon County. There are groups in Montague that race really fast, and there are groups in the pedal in Muskegon. Where are they, and what do they look like?
Oh my gosh, there's a group ride every night, virtually, and some nights more than one going on. And there's groups that are doing mountain biking type of riding, and groups that are doing road riding and street riding. The MCBC supports 3 rides through the week. So on Monday nights during the season, and the season is from when the time changes in the spring to when the time changes in November. And it departs from Farmers Market at 6 p.m., and this is the one that we get 50 to 70 riders every week, and goes around the city streets, different neighborhoods at a slow pace. And the organizers are Ray McLeod and Melanie McLeod. And Melanie will research something about where we're going, some history, or it might be a tour of the various statue area around the town, or the murals. And we'll stop and we'll get a story about history of some house or a building that used to be somewhere. So it's fascinating. You're learning something every week on that ride. And it's just very social. We take up the whole street. People come out of their houses and go, hey, how you doing? And we're shouting, Happy Monday. And around Halloween, we pass out candy to kids that come out. So that's one ride. On Tuesday nights, we have a ride that starts from the parking lot behind Unruly Brewing. And it's a combination road, bike trail ride, and there's something for everybody in that. So there's these young guys that, they can go over 20 miles an hour for the duration, and that'll be one group. Then it'll be a group that maybe goes an average 18 miles an hour, and then 16, all the way down to a group that's about as slow as the night before, and they might take the trail out to Pierre Marquette Beach or go up the Berry Junction Trail as part of it. The other groups tend to ride on the roads, and usually going north through North Muskegon and up till they get to River or McMillan, and then turn around and come back. And there's always, all right, we're going to do Blockhouse Hill or not? That's the big challenge for everybody. And so that's grown and gone on for like about 10 years now. And then there's a similar ride on Thursday nights from behind Fetch Brewery. Of course, you might understand the connection between the breweries and riding, because there's always what you got to rehydrate afterwards. So, and same kind of breakdown of speeds and trail ride and road rides for both of those The Tuesday night ride goes about an hour and a half, and for the faster groups, they go about 30 miles. And on Thursday night, they go for about an hour and go 20 or 22 miles in that time.
That sounds like a lot of fun. A little bit of something for everyone, right?
Yeah. And I love riding with other people, so it motivates me to get out there and ride. And I've got something to plan for every night of the week. Yeah,
and then afterwards you can usually end up at a brewery and have a beverage with some great people and have a good conversation. So if there was one thing you could tell somebody that's considering joining one of these group rides or is new to biking, what would you say to them? I'm sure there's anxiety. They're coming into a big group of people that they don't know, maybe uncomfortable about how fast is this ride going to go? Am I going to fit in? Do I have... What would you say to them?
Well, usually people that are very new to riding, I tell them start out with that Monday night ride. That's super friendly, super safe. We generally don't get people crashing. Once in a while, somebody will run into a curb by accident, but it's a slow motion thing. And then, like I said, the Tuesday and Thursday night rides, there's something for everybody. We always ask, is there anybody new? And we try to make sure they've got somebody to ride with them that can kind of show them the ropes. For the Tuesday and Thursday night rides, especially the faster groups, we ride like they do, like the racers do, in a pace line, we call it. And there's rules and etiquette to that we'll teach new people as we get them out there.
But very welcoming. Don't be scared to show up. Everyone's going to teach you. You're not going to be uncomfortable. That's amazing.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned a nonprofit. What can our listeners do to help the MCBC moving forward and help the coalition grow? Well,
we'll take any old bikes that people have. We get a lot of people that maybe it was their kids' bikes and they've grown up and they've just been taking up space in the garage, and everybody knows how awkward it is, parking bikes around cars and everything. Or they were bikers and they're switching over to the e-bike, and okay, I don't need this old regular pedal bike anymore, and so donations of bikes, we'll keep our bike library program. And not only do we give them the library, but if we run into somebody that's destitute and needs a bike, we'll give it to them, or we get referrals from like Goodwill or that kind of thing, even from the courts. And so that's one way people can support us. Yeah, the other way is we have to buy parts for these bikes and everything for all the repairs, and we just keep coming up with ideas of things to do that need to be supported financially. And we've managed to get some grants, but we accept any donations. You can go to the Muskegon County Bicycling Coalition website, and there's links there to make donations, or you can email us at bicyclemuskegon@yahoo.com.
I love it. That's awesome. Is there anything else that you'd like our listeners to know about the MCBC before we wrap this up?
No, I think I've covered just about everything.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Rob, for being on Muskegon Rising today. Wonderful information about cycling opportunities around Muskegon County.
Thanks, Aaron. And I just encourage everybody to get out there and ride.
All season long.
All season long.
Thank you for listening to Muskegon Rising. For more information, please visit muskegonrotary.org.